All right, everyone, we're going to get started. So it is 5:27. Thank you, Sasha. And I'll call this meeting to order. Thank you all for coming out for the general meeting. This is the annual general meeting for the Federation of Students. We will try and get through this as quick as possible. I know it's a very long agenda, and I know many of you are very hungry for the food, so we'll try and move as quick as possible. So, first up on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Member Garrett, seconded by Member Potter. Any debate or discussion on the agenda itself? Seeing none, I will put it to a vote. All those in favor of approving the agenda? And those opposed? It passes. And I think that's the first time in my life I've ever seen that agenda pass without amendments. Thank you. Next up is approving the minutes of the March 2016 general meeting. So do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Member Ray, seconded by Member Garrett. Any debate or discussion on the minutes of the winter 2016 general meeting? Don't worry about it. Seeing none, I will put it to a vote. All those in favor of approving the minutes? And those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. We're rocking and rolling. Number 3, receiving the auditor's report. So at our meeting that we attempted to do in October, we tried to present the audit at that meeting. Since we didn't have quorum, we didn't officially receive the audit report, but we still went through it. So this time around, Cheryl, our accounting manager, is just going to do a quicker overview of what the audit was like. So I'll leave it with her. In the interest of time, we'll try and speed things along. If you have more philosophical or longer questions, I encourage you to come see Brian, our Vice President Operations and Finance, offline so we can keep moving. Other than that, I will pass the mic on to Cheryl.
Thank you, Chris. Please bear with me. I've been sick with a cold the last few days and my voice comes and goes. So I did a fairly large presentation at the last meeting. I think the biggest point to note is that we had a loss in the year 2015-16. It was a planned loss by the board. It was planned for. We knew we were going to lose money and planned to lose money on purpose because the CRA has made recommendations that we can only keep so much in what I learned as retained earnings. So we plan to use up some of that retained earnings as recommended by the CRA. Sorry, I didn't. So anyways, as I was saying, the biggest item of note is that we had a loss in 2015-16. It was a planned loss. It was lost on purpose because we have too much money sitting in what I learned as our retained earnings or net value. And so that was the biggest item of note on the statements. If anybody has any quick questions, I can try to answer them now. Otherwise, we'll move forward.
Great. Thank you, Cheryl. If we can get back to the agenda, please. All right, we're on to item number 4, election of the Board of Directors. So the way this is going to work, anyone who wants to run for the board for the 2017-2018 year, come on down to the front, and then we'll have one person nominate you all, just so it's faster. So anyone who's interested in running for the board, please come up to the front. Whether you're running for the council seat or the at-large seat, it doesn't matter, either or. Just line up in front right here. This is perfect. Yeah, I know. I'm still confirming. I don't know. Blue is the vote. Just a reminder to some of the people who are showing up late, please go to the back corner over there and register and get your voting placards, just so that you're registered and signed in. All right, last call. Anyone interested in running for the board? No? All right, so I'm going to pass the mic down the line here, and what I'm going to ask of all of you, say your first and last name, as well as whether you are going to be a voting member of Students' Council next year, because there are 2 spots reserved for council next year. So we need to know which seat you're going to fill. They don't count, so they're at large. So you're either for the council seat or the at-large seats.
I'm speaking on behalf of Abdullah Bakarat, and he is not a incoming councillor. Was there something else I had to say? Okay.
My name is Z, last name Tang. I am running for the board of directors position.
At large?
At large.
My name is Tristan Potter, and I'm running for the council position.
My name is Matthew Garretts, and I'm running for an at-large seat.
My name is Marcus Abramovich. I'm running for an at-large seat.
My name is Katie Turip, and I am also running for an at-large seat.
My name is Thompson Tran, and I'll be running for the council seat.
My name is Alexander A.J. Ray, and I will be running for the at-large seat.
My name is Brittany Brown, and I'm running for the at-large seat.
My name is Vishnavi Gupta, and I'm running for the at-large seat.
My name is Brian Crisiono, and I'm going for the at-large seat.
You need to arrange that. I told him to arrange that with him. All right, can I just have someone nominate all these people quickly? Moved by Member Forstner, seconded by Vice President Schwan. All right, so these are our nominees. I believe I only heard one councillor seat, right? Two? Okay. Thompson and Tristan, congratulations, you're on the board. Yeah, you can sit down. Sasha knows this, but everyone who's up here, when you get a chance, please go and see Sasha, who's our recording secretary, for the meeting. If you can just spell out your name for him so he can get it there for you. So we're going to start with a brief introduction. So we'll say we have 2 minutes to introduce yourself and explain to the membership why they should elect you to the board. All right? Make sure you hold the mic very close and speak loudly. Thank you.
Hello, like I said, I'm speaking on behalf of Abdullah Bakarat. So I'm just going to read verbatim what he wrote. I'm running to be an at-large member of the Federation Students' Board of Directors. I've been heavily involved in student government during my time at the University of Waterloo and believe that my knowledge and experience in the roles I've taken on will serve me well on the Board of Directors. I'm the current Engineering Society A president, thus have a lot of experience with high-level decision-making and advocating in the best interest of student bodies that he represents. I was also the Engineering Society Vice President of Finance for 16 months, meaning he's well aware of how to manage finances of a student organization and have worked with feds in the past when it comes to guiding financial affairs. Lastly, I have been an active member of the Engineering Society Board of Directors since its inception in 2014, and therefore I am familiar with the way that a Board of Directors operates. I believe that I will bring a fresh perspective to the Fed's Board of Directors, and I'm really hoping to push for what is in the best interest of the general student body. Thank you for your time.
Hi everybody, my name is Z, and I'm running for the board of directors at large position. So, for the past 2 years, I worked as a realtor, and there I knew firsthand the importance of fiscal responsibility, and I want to bring new insights into Fed's board of directors. And for the 2 years ago, I had a column in imprint called Club Cruising with Z. That's my name, and what I did was pretty much I would go around different clubs at UW, student-run clubs, and I would experience what their club offered to the students. And what I noticed was there was a lot of challenges that they faced, and I believe feds could be more proactive in meeting these challenges and assisting them to maximize the student life experience here in UW. I look forward to working with the exec team, but I will not hesitate to bring out my opinions. Thank you very much.
Hello, so I'm interested in running for the Board of Directors position. Is that loud enough? Because I've become more involved with Feds over the past year. I've sat on council for the last year and have become very interested in the role that Feds has to play in enriching the lives of students here on campus. I've been involved as a VP Finance for the Environment Student Society, the faculty level Student Society for Environment Students for the last 2 years. I have also recently won an election to sit on the University Senate as your at-large representative. I would believe that I would bring to Fed's board an interest in fiscal responsibility. I have managed the finances of the Environment Student Society for those last 2 years, as well as hopefully a good amount of leadership experience, as well as interest in non-profit governance. Thank you.
All right, hi everyone. I'm Marcus Abramovich. I'm on co-op right now. I'm in 3B of chemistry, and I'm running for your at-large seat in the board of directors because I feel like this is somewhere where I can really be a great voice representing students. So for the last year, I've been a counselor, and I've been actively proposing policies and really pressing on execs to hold their feet to the fire. And not to be the dead horse here, but I really think I could really drive home fiscal responsibility. As for the last year or so, I've really been at the front, on the front line of getting rid of fees that we no longer need, and also on holding execs accountable to where they spend money. And every council meeting, I've brought up criticisms of the executives and where I think they can be doing better. And I will not stop this if elected to your board of directors. Furthermore, I've sat on quite a few committees with executives, and I know how to really make sure that they're doing their jobs properly and submitting reports that are detailed and to the full extent of what they're supposed to fulfill. So I've been on USL selection committees, I've served as time writing policy, and I have definitely read my share of Fed's elections referendum procedures as well as the rest of Fed's bylaws. So I really feel like I'm well prepared for this spot, and I hope I can serve on your board of directors.
Hello, everyone. It's great to see so many people here. I'm Katie Turip, and I'm finishing up my second year studying planning here. While I definitely do not have as much experience as my colleagues here, I'm definitely not a stranger to the responsibilities of student representation. In my first year, in my first week here actually, I was elected to represent the first year student body of the planning cohort. And I was excellent in that role for my reliability, for my friendliness, and for my approachableness. And I can definitely continue that excellence if I am so lucky to be appointed a member of this board of directors. Thank you.
Hi everyone. So as I said, my name is AJ. For the past 2 years, I've actually served as the chair of the Federation's board of directors. I'm very familiar with this organization. I'm very qualified in guiding it at this high level of government. Really what the board of directors is your voice in the corporation fed through a few people that can act as trustees and people that hold the executive accountable. In regard to some issues that I've heard on campus, fiscal responsibility, over the past 2 years, we have significantly increased the fiscal responsibility of the corporation. We're a lot more transparent on our budgeting process now. You'll see later on one of my projects, and Sasha over here has been redoing the bylaws to bring some clarity and transparency towards them and make some minor tweaks that'll actually improve the student voice in the corporation. In addition to my Feds experience, I also serve as the Environment Undergraduate Senator. I've sat on Senate Finance Committee, Undergraduate Student Relations Committee, and really for me in the next year, it will be about taking the 2 years of experience I already have with this corporation and operationalizing it into real change that matters for you as students. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Brittany Brown. I am running for the at-large position of the Board of Directors for Feds. Currently, I am the Vice President of Finance for the Science Society. I've been in this position for the past year, and I just was re-elected for the spring 2017 term. My role on the Science Society is essentially to oversee the budgets and look at the numbers and increase the transparency of the Science Society fees and budgets that our science students spend, so that we're optimizing the events that we hold and all of the things that we give back to the students for what you guys do for us, essentially. I would like to take my experience here, my experience in the C&D, for example, and then bring that to a larger scope and a larger scale on campus. I was also involved in increasing the the revenue for the science C&D to over 50%. Alongside myself and our board of directors for the Science Society, as well as all of our other executives and our coordinator team, we've been able to increase certain initiatives on campus, especially for science students. One such being the mental health awareness and bringing out a more transparent and more a stronger initiative for that goal, essentially. And I'd just like to move forward now and see what I can do with Feds on a grander scale.
Hi everyone, my name is Vishnavi. I am this year's Science Society president. As Brittany mentioned, we've introduced a lot of initiatives over the past year, including the mental health initiative, which is the one that I'm most proud of. By introducing this initiative, I made our society very open to students and made them feel comfortable enough to come talk to me about their issues, which is why I feel like I would bring a different perspective to this board. I feel that I've had the opportunity to talk to students about issues that they're facing, and that is what I'll be bringing to the board. Along with Science Society, I've also worked with Feds a lot of times in the past. I was involved with increasing voter turnout for the Federation of Students elections, and before that I worked with the VP Education as an advocacy coordinator and brought forward those issues that students had brought to us in order to solve them. So I'd like to thank you for this opportunity, and I hope I can represent you to the best of my abilities.
Hello, my name is Brian. I'm a first-year computer science student, and I'm running for the at-large position simply because I want to gain more experience.
You can just hold it for a second. All right. Thank you for all the candidates for your introduction. We'll now go into the Q&A portion. So if you would like to ask a question of any of the candidates, feel free to come up here to the mic, and then we'll ask a question for all the candidates. Please frame your... Oh, Sasha's going to come and remind me to say something now.
Oh, no, I was going to ask a question. You
okay.
On the mic.
This reminded me, I need to make sure all of the candidates are at least 18 years old, and you must not be personally bankrupt. This is a requirement. This is a requirement in the Corporations Act of Ontario. You cannot be a director of a corporation if you don't meet those criteria. If everyone meets that, we can continue. Sasha, you would like to ask a question.
Oh, God, one mic. There we go. Hi, my name is Sasha. I'm a current member of the board of directors this year. Let me introduce my question here. So the bylaws of the corporation say the board's responsible for the legal, operational, high-level organizational strategy, human resources, and general long-range planning of the Federation of Students. So the challenge that I've found over the last year with sitting on the board is twofold. The first is you're a strategic body, so you're expected to oversee the corporation's long-term interests and executive performance without micromanaging what they do every month, without getting into the weeds of management. It's also tricky because the best interests of Feds in the long term don't always align with what's in the student interest in the short term. So my question is this, and it's a two-parter. First, what is one long-term strategic project you would like to pursue as a director for the good of the corporation? And what values will you use to differentiate between the best interests of Feds and the wants of students? How do you reconcile those two things?
All right, we'll start with Brian at the end and work our way towards this direction. You can have up to 1 minute to respond.
Can you say the second question again?
Sasha? Can you repeat your question? Yes.
Right. What is one long-term strategic project you want to pursue for the good of the corporation, and why? And what values will you use as a director to differentiate between the best interests of students and the wants of, the best interests of Feds and the wants of students? How do you reconcile those two? Best interests of the corporation and the best interests of what students want. That's the second part of the question.
All right, Brian? Are you going to pass?
Yeah, I can pass.
All right.
So, as a society president, I feel that one of the biggest issues that students come to us in regards to the university and the Federation of Students is the lack of transparency. They feel that even though all of our initiatives are out there, that we are not transparent enough with them. So one thing that I do want to do this year is throw everything in their face, make sure it's present, hold initiatives where they're able to come out and see what we've done, what we've made present. One of the things that Federation of Students is known for is being there for their students and having everything out in the open, but students still don't appreciate that. So I feel one of the biggest things that we need to do this year is show them that we are here, and we do need to show them everything we've done together.
All right. So what my colleague has just said, that's a key part of sort of my vision for where we can move next year. Really, for me, it's about taking our long-term plan and turning it into something that is officially a vision for the organization moving forward. This will involve a broad look at, okay, what will the budget look like in 5 years? What will the fees look like in 5 years? What will the organization look like in 5 years? And how do we achieve those goals each and every year? And so this year we're going to look at our current long-range plan, figure out what are the things we can do within the year to achieve the vision that's already in our long-range plan. Moving forward, when it comes to balancing the interests of students and the interests of the corporation, what you need to recognize is this corporation is the student body. And so therefore the long-term vision of the corporation should be able to fit within the student body needs. They may be saying one thing, but they may not realize that the intention and outcome that they want is different from what they're saying. And so that's what we need to do, is figure out how to translate the very good voices that we hear into something that is actionable and that the corporation can actually implement. Transparency is definitely a key issue. Open government is definitely a key issue, but also budgeting and fee transparency is a huge issue. Thank you.
That was 108.
I am also very interested in seeing that there are more transparent discussions being made about especially where students' money is going. I'd like to know, for example, just personally, where the money that I'm spending towards my fees here, where exactly they're going and how it's benefiting me as a student. Something more specific maybe to add on to that point, however, is that it would be great to see some more participatory budgeting happening, more dialogue happening between students and between Federation of Students to come to more agreeable conclusions as to where our money is going and how it's being spent and how it's being funded as well. And I think the values that support that are mutual discussion, mutual understanding of the wants and needs of the corporation and the wants and needs of students. Thank you.
All right, so for Sasha's first question, the number one project that I think would be really great for the Fed's Board of Directors that I'd like to work on is a long-term Fed's advocacy plan. I think in the past few years, Fed's advocacy towards all levels of government could really use some work, and I'd really like to work with Andrew, our newly elected Vice President of Education, to create a long-term Fed's advocacy plan so that our advocacy can focus on the issues that matter to students. So things like ensuring transit doesn't go down because of a GRT strike, things like ensuring that our ancillary fees are within scope and are appropriate, and things like making sure our university is exactly the place we want it to be, and making sure what students' priorities are advocated towards the government. And for Sasha's second question, I'm really surprised to say this. I disagree with AJ. I think students know what they want, and I think it's insulting to say that they don't know what they want. And for that reason, I actually want AJ on the board with me, because I think having people disagree on the board of directors is exactly what we want to see, where we have people fighting for students and also fighting for the long-term vision of the board. So I was really surprised to hear AJ say that, but I do think students know what they want, and I think students say what they mean.
Time.
All right, to the point of student needs versus needs of the Federation of Students. You have my word that I will act in the best interests of the Federation. That is the legal responsibility. And I think the best way to interpret that and to rectify the values would be to look at the long-range plan, something that was determined, and we will be going through a mid-cycle review of the long-range plan, which contains a lot of the goals that FEDS has to increase the quality of student life on campus. One particular project that I would like to work on would also be the budget process. I was on the budget committee this year, which had fewer meetings than I would have liked just due to the way that the ordering of that came out. But I would like to work closely with our returning VPOF to make the budget fiscally solvent, if that is what is determined to be needed for the CRA, and to yeah. Sorry, I think I've gone on long enough there.
So one thing I'll be really passionate about if I became the board of directors is the further collaboration between FEDS and student-run clubs. You see, I talked to a lot of directors from other clubs, and they told me some things that really intrigued me. They told me that they would rather not be under FEDS because it would take too much time, it's too time consuming, it's too much headache, they wouldn't be able to get the funding in time. And if I were to be a director, I would take a more proactive stance towards working with these clubs, how we can maximize ask them what kind of challenges they're facing and how we can address these challenges, whether it's funding, whether it's providing platform, etc. And between the best interest of the corporation and the best interest of students, I believe the corporation, the FEDS, should stand to provide the most value to students. And their budget, their reading wrap-up week, for example, their welcome week should reflect that. So I believe that if they were, we would look at each item and look at how we can maximize the value.
Again, I'm speaking on behalf of Abdullah, so I'm just going to quote directly from here that I think may answer some questions. So, I'm the current Engineering Society president, thus I have a lot of experience with high-level decision-making and advocating on the best interests of the student body I represent. I have been an active member of the Engineering Society Board of Directors since its inception in 2014, therefore I'm familiar with the way a Board of Director operates. And I believe that I will bring a fresh perspective to the FEDS Board of Directors. And I'm hoping to push what is in the best interest of the general student body. Thank you for your time. Oh, sorry. I don't need to say that part.
All right, we have a member up here who's going to ask another question. There you go.
Hello, my name's Alexander Eyre. And I'm an executive on 3 different clubs on campus, the biggest one being Model Parliament. And what I've noticed and what a lot of club members have noticed on campus is that FEDS regulation for clubs is very restrictive, and it makes it very hard for clubs to do simple things like book rooms or simply ordering them pizza because of a lot of bureaucracy and paperwork that has to go into that. And that's why actually, I've heard a lot of clubs are considering to move away from FEDS to different organizations because of that. And since that's something that FEDS shouldn't want to be happening, since FEDS would like to have a lot of clubs in it, what can you do to make sure clubs feel welcome in FEDS and that clubs are free to run themselves as they please within FEDS?
Great, thank you. We'll start with Abdullah and move our way down this side. You may begin.
Again, just going to quote directly. I'm well aware of how to manage finances of a student organization and I've worked with FEDS in the past when it comes to financial affairs. And a lot of experience with making high-level decisions and advocating on the best interests of the student body he represents.
Well, thank you so much for that question. I feel like some of the things I was talking about earlier, FEDS should be proactive in engaging with these student-run clubs to enhance the student life experience in UW. And I feel like he was saying, like some of the clubs, they're kind of retracting from wanting to be under FEDS, and I feel like there's a lot of things that we can work on, such as funding, etc.
All right, so I'm happy to answer your question. Thank you very much for asking it. I'm currently a member of the Internal Administration Committee on Feds, which is the Feds committee that deals a little bit with clubs and club discipline. But I think it's given me a perspective that dealing with clubs definitely falls under the VP internal portfolio, so it's definitely up to the executive to take the lead on how that develops. But I know that through the good work of the board acting on the behalf of students, there are plans to make club space more bookable with the SLC PAC expansion. So I know that there's a lot coming down the line, and because I don't have experience on board currently, I don't think I have any specific plans on how I could improve clubs personally, but I'm definitely very open to working with the VP internal to figure out how we can do that. Thank you.
All right, so this definitely falls under the portfolio of the VP internal, and I'd be really open to working with them and also working with students. One thing I'd really like to see in terms of clubs is I'd like to see our club funding have some sort of correlation with how many people are involved in the club. So clubs that have hundreds of students should not be getting the same $75 as a 10 or 15 person club. So I'd really like to see that happen, and I'd also really like to see us really cut a lot of the red tape when it comes to booking rooms for clubs. I think it's completely unacceptable that a club shouldn't be able to get a same day booking for an open classroom, because we have all the information of which classes are booked at different times. I see no reason why we can't have a room on campus booked for almost anyone, any club that wants to run an event. Classrooms are open all the time, and I'd really like to see us get a lot of the red tape out of the way for clubs when it comes to getting cash as returned. As soon as you have proof of purchase, I think you should be able to get a refund fairly quickly, emailed to you, or we can definitely expedite this process, especially if we move electronically.
And time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for bringing this up. I think as student identity, as a part of student identity, clubs play a very important role. To respond to this, I would be interested in suggesting the creation of a focus group to understand one-on-one the experiences that club presidents and club members are having with feds with regards to booking rooms, getting funds, writing receipts, things like that. I think a focus group would be an excellent way to personally understand what's going on and then mutually come to discussion as how to come to solutions. Thank you.
Awesome. So I want to thank you for your question, and I think I'm going to direct you towards council. That is where the regulation actually occurs. The board has a very limited role in that. But because we need solutions to these problems, I'm going to tell you how we're going to achieve that. So right now there's a fee increase before you for 35 cents. Part of that fee increase will actually pay for a part-timer in the club's portfolio to help process a lot of those forms and a lot of those questions that you may have around booking rooms. I think that's going to be a significant improvement in how clubs access services. In regards to the larger clubs, like my colleague Marcus said, I think we need to recognize that some of our larger clubs are becoming like services. They provide a cultural community for students. They provide a broader community for students around an area of interest, like Model Parliament. And I do think we need to have a discussion around the funding structure for clubs to give those types of clubs some larger amounts of per student funding so they can do great things. Thank you.
I agree with what my colleagues have said here, and one of the biggest things that I think that could be improved also and suggested is to increase the line of communication between Feds, the corporation, as well as between the presidents and the executives of these clubs. So if you guys need, for example, rooms to be booked or things to get done expedited, there needs to be an easier way for you to do that allows you to get this done on time, especially if there's something that happens in the event of having a room booked and then all of a sudden having it changed. What can you do then? Going through those channels of communication can sometimes be tedious and lengthy in process. So possibly expanding this role, breaking down this role into different facets that allow you to be able to expedite what you need to get done.
So before Science Society, I was the president of UW World Vision for 2 years, so I faced my fair share of issues with Federation of Students. One of the things that I'd like to say in regards to these problems is it's easy to say that Feds should, provide better service, communicate better, but it's very difficult when there's over 200 clubs within the Federation of Students. One thing that I think we could do is delegate some of this responsibility to certain societies, because some clubs do fall under certain faculties. So delegating this responsibility and decreasing the number of clubs that Feds has to be in direct communication with would definitely better the communication and better the people that these problems are coming to, so they would be able to solve it more directly.
I personally agree with your opinion, and as a member of a lot of clubs, I feel like the Fed should provide more support. So if we were to provide management in more of the requirements in providing support, then it would create things, making things easier as for booking rooms as well as funding. So I feel like I agree with one of their points where if there are more people, then there should be increase in funding, as well as another point where we should delegate more people towards the communication between clubs and services.
Thank you. Our next question.
Hello? Working? So the question I have relates to sort of the goals that you've been saying over the past couple of questions. And it relates specifically to the role of board of directors. I want you all to answer the question of how does the role of being on the board at large best suit your goals?
Okay, and we'll start with Brian and work our way this way. Pass, Vishnavi.
Okay, so one thing that I understand the board does is represent the undergraduate student body as shareholders. So one of my biggest goals that as I mentioned, is increasing transparency. By increasing transparency, we would be able to provide more knowledge to the student body so they know where their funding is going to, the type of services that are present at the university for them. So I believe by increasing transparency, we would be directly helping the student body, which is what the job of the board is to do.
Along with that, my goal is to increase the presence on campus, so to get more student involvement. Like Feds grabs a lot of students on campus, but to increase that number so that the funds that students are paying to the Federation of Students and to this corporation are benefiting them to the best of its ability. Sitting on the board of directors for the Science Society, what we do as a small cohort of students is to relay the messages and all of the advice that are given to us from larger groups of students, and to use those advice and to use those messages and to try and benefit them in the best that we can. So sitting on the Federation of Students Board of Directors, I want to be able to relay the information that students are giving to us, and to use that to increase their enjoyment here on campus with the Federation of Students.
So the board of directors is responsible for the legal, the financial, the organizational, and long-term vision of the corporation. To address some specific questions around that, but the legal part of it, that's about managing risk. So when we talk about club regulation, the board is responsible for assessing risk. We can direct that risk assessment to look at the club regulation and see, okay, is there parts of it that just don't make sense? That's not a risky endeavor, so we don't need to be regulating it as much. When it comes to financial, it's looking at funding, it's looking at financial controls, it's looking at how the membership can access the finances of the organization. When it comes to organizational, that's about the structure. People should know who their directors are, and I think we need to start having a lot more visible role within the student body, so you know who you can come to talk to about the issues that you have. In regards to the long-term vision, I mean, really that's an easy one. That's about listening to you guys and implementing the voice that you have within the corporation. Thank you.
Something specific that I would really like to see on campus and see Feds work towards on campus is an improved state of the students' mental health. It's a really hot topic right now, and if I am so lucky to be appointed as a member of the board of directors, I would like to see there being mental health discussion incorporated into what AJ said about the legal responsibilities, the HR, the fiscal responsibilities. I want to see mental health as a priority incorporated into those very organizational discussions. Thank you.
Hi, so I think I'll just get to this in a couple quick points. So first of all, I really like what she said about mental health, and I think the number one thing we need to do is reduce the wait times for counseling to services to 48 hours as a mandatory maximum waiting time. Number two, the reason I really want to be on the board of directors is because my second goal on the board of directors is to really look into Fed's efficiency, and I think this is an area where we have a lot of work to do, and I'd really like experience in terms of fighting for, in terms of making processes more efficient and making our organization more efficient and leaner and cleaner and an organization that really values student dollars and doesn't waste them. So if we can reduce, for example, in the audit we just received, instead of going into deficit, a planned deficit, I think we can reduce a fee I think we can reduce a fee if we need to do that. So that's one thing I'd like to do. And also in regards of legal aspects, I think this is somewhere I'd really like to improve upon personally. And also, I think I have a lot of skills to add in this department as well.
All right, so thank you for asking your question. You asked how would serving on the board of directors would serve my goals. Ever since I got started in the University of Waterloo, I've been passionate about serving students. That's why I joined the Knowledge Integration Student Society in the first year in my department, and eventually got involved with the Environment Student Society for 2 years. I want to work on Fed's board of directors because I'm passionate about not-for-profit governance. I want to learn more about it, but I also really want to serve. And I was asked by people within the organization that I respect to serve, and that is why I want to be on the board of directors. Thank you very much.
I look forward to be on the board of directors because I wanted to work with the current execs and the future execs on their long-term sustainable plans. I'm really passionate about some of these topics, and such as the advocacy for mental health, and also another other priority is the collaboration with clubs. I don't think the 7-day wait period for club room booking is acceptable, and we have to figure out within the board of directors how we could come up with ways to minimize that waiting time.
Again, just going to quote, I've been heavily involved in student government during my time at the University of Waterloo, and I believe my knowledge and experience in these roles that I've taken on will serve me well on the board of directors. I believe I will bring a fresh perspective to the Fed's board of directors, and I'm really hoping to push for what is in the best interest of the general student body.
Thank you. And Member Potter is going to ask our final question of the night.
Cool. My question is, what does it mean for you to be a fiduciary of the Federation of Students?
So we'll start with Abdullah. Tristan, are you all right if we just do 30 seconds for this question? All right. 30 seconds for this question. We'll start on this side and we'll work our way down.
Quoting again, I was also the Engineering Society Vice President of Finance for 16 months, meaning I'm well aware of how to manage finances of a student organization, and I've worked with Feds in the past when it comes to guiding financial affairs. And lastly, I've been an active member of the Engineering Society Board of Directors since its inception in 2014. Therefore, I am familiar with the way a Board of Directors operates.
What does it mean to be a fiduciary for the board of directors? I believe that Feds should maximize the value that its budget brings to the students. I believe Feds' budget has to incorporate how we can make the student life experience better and how we can work with students to make sure they feel inclusive in on this campus, and how their life could...
And time.
To be a fiduciary is the legal obligation to act in the best interests of the corporation. And that is as simple as that gets. If you go into the bylaws, there's some other duties for directors to act in accordance with the bylaws, to be involved in this, to be involved in the strategic and long-range planning for the organization. But when it comes down to it, being a fiduciary is the legal obligation to act in the best interests of the corporation.
I don't really have too much to say here. I think being a fiduciary is just simply acting in the best interest of the board of directors, regardless of any other personal things or literally anything else you've got going on. You have the legal responsibility to act in the best interest of the Fed's board of directors. That's it.
To be an adequate fiduciary of the board of directors is exactly what he said. It's to adequately represent the opinions of students throughout campus as a director of the board, while also maintaining the organizational goals of the federation. That's the legal goals, the HR goals, and the fiscal goals, while representing the interests of the long-range plan. Thank you.
So being a fiduciary, essentially, as my colleagues have stated, is a legal responsibility, but also we are your trustees. We represent you in the governance of the corporation, and so what we have to do is balance your interests with the balancing of the long-term vision of the corporation and making sure that we, at the end of the day, can keep this corporation running efficiently, as well as balancing the desires that you may have.
So to be a fiduciary of the Federation of Students, what we need to do first and foremost is, of course, to look at what's in the best interest of the board, but also to remember that our primary shareholders are everyone here, the students. It's the students who the Federation of Students is here to represent and to ensure that what we're doing benefits us as students in as much as we can do, essentially.
So as everybody before me said, the job of this board is to appropriately represent student experiences, problems, and issues. And since everybody already said the definition of it, I just want to say that with my experience on campus as Science Society president and involvement in previous Feds clubs, I believe I do understand what the student body is looking for, and I do represent their problems.
Like everyone said, you want to maintain the best interests of the boards as well as students, considering that we are the representative of the student and we want to represent you guys as much as we can.
Thank you very much, everyone. So we are now going to vote. So you'll notice you'll have a ballot that is both for the Budget Committee and the Board of Directors. Do not fill out the Budget Committee. That happens later in the agenda. Right now we are only doing the ballot that says Board of Directors. You can rank up to 5 names and fill it out in the at-large section. Their names are up there on the screen. Once you have completed your ballot, please see Sarah Wiley over here to drop off your ballot. She's going to come around. Stay seated. She's going to come around. Brian Schwan is also going to come around and collect your ballots. You can rank up to 5. You don't have to rank 5, but you can go all the way up to 5 if you like. If you haven't signed in yet, you can go to the back with your Watt card. They will give you a placard and a ballot to sign in. Don't bother writing anything in the counselor spot. We've already acclaimed Thompson and Tristan to those roles. The order does matter. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You are ranking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Last call for ballots. Put your hand up if you haven't already dropped off your ballot, and someone will come around with the ballot box. Last call, 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. The ballots are closed, and we'll get those counted and announce the results later in the meeting. Can you pull up the agenda? We'll now move to the next item on the agenda, and that is the ratification of the 2017-2018 Federation of Students Executive. So the motion is, be it resolved that Andrew Klubine for Vice President Education, Jill Knight for Vice President Internal, Brian Schwan for Vice President Operations and Finance, and Antonio Brieva for President be ratified as the 2017-2018 Executive Team. Do I have a mover? Moved by Member Garrett, seconded by Member Potter. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll put it to a vote. All those in favor? And those opposed? It passes. Congratulations to our next Executive Team. Next up, we have a quick announcement of the Feds Teaching Award winner. I'll pass the mic on to Vice President Wiley, and she will give a brief explanation.
Hi, everybody. Hi. Okay, so every year undergraduate students at the University of Waterloo have the opportunity to recognize professors that have shown outstanding contribution towards undergraduate learning. The Fed's Excellence in Undergraduate Teaching Award highlights instructors who have employed non-conventional teaching techniques, allowed opportunities for experiential learning, and shown a long-term commitment and dedication towards ensuring academic success for undergraduate students. It is my pleasure to announce that our 2017 Fed's Excellence in Undergraduate Teaching Award winner is Dr. Frankie Condon. Dr. Condon is a distinguished lecturer from the Faculty of English at the University of Waterloo. Dr. Frankie Condon's teaching greatly facilitates student engagement and encourages students to critically examine the impacts of writing and rhetoric in the forging of human relations and interactions. Her students know her as the teacher who loves Harry Potter. She has taught the well-received English course Popular Potter. In the many nominations she received, students spoke of her ability to keep students engaged and encourage discussion. Dr. Condon fosters a sense of community in her classrooms through the use of the House Cup, where students are awarded points for acts of kindness. Condon exemplifies what it means not only to be a professor, but a mentor. Students at the University of Waterloo are grateful to have her on campus. Her compassion for students, innovative teaching methods, and passion for teaching makes Dr. Condon an amazing teacher and a very deserving award winner. Dr. Condon will receive her award tomorrow night along with winners from other universities at the Ontario Undergraduate Student Alliance Partners in Higher Education dinner. Thank you for all the students who submitted nominations.
Let's give it up for our Feds Teaching Award winner. We'll now move to item number 7. This is a motion. Be it resolved, the general meeting approve the Fed's fee increase by CPI, that's the Consumer Price Index, of 1.4%, corresponding to 79 cents for full-time students. Do I have a mover? Moved by Vice President Schwan, seconded by Member Potter. Sorry, the first person to speak to the motion is the person who moved it. If you would like to debate, you can come up to either one of the mics. But first, Vice President Schwan has the right to speak.
Hey, everybody. So the CPI increase happens pretty much every year. As we can see, it's for 79 cents this year. It's just based on the rate of inflation across the board. Pretty standard stuff. That's really all I'm going to speak to it initially.
All right, you may speak to it. For everyone, this is just a statement for everyone else who's speaking for the rest of the night. Before you talk, so our minute taker can track who's saying what, please say your name into the mic, and then you can say your mind. All right? Marcus, you may begin.
Marcus Bramovich. Sasha. He's good. All right. So my first thing is that we just heard from the audit that we ran a purposeful deficit last year because we had too much money, and I think that Feds really needs to focus on on cleaning up its leanness as an organization and its fiscal responsibility. And I think that starts right now. We're getting more students next year. I think that can start right now by maintaining the Feds fee for the next couple of years without CPI increases, in order to make Feds more accountable, more transparent, and really showing where their money's making sure students get their bang for their buck. I think we need a lot of work to do in terms of fiscal responsibility, in terms of making sure every money that goes to Feds is spent effectively and not just simply being increased because we can and it's normal to increase the fee. So I guess that's the first thing I'd like to say.
Thank you. If you just want to pass the mic to the next person, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Alexander Eyre. I would have to agree with Marcus right there. The fact is that not all of our money as students is being used effectively. And I think we do need to send a message to Feds that we'd like to see more transparency and more effectiveness with the services they provide. This is money they're taking out of our pockets, so we deserve to have control over it. And I highly suggest everyone vote against this fee increase, because Feds does have the money. It has a lot of money. We just need to make sure they use their money more effectively to better serve us as students.
Thank you.
Seneca Velling.
Sorry, can you repeat that? I don't think we heard.
Seneca is in Seneca College, last name Velling. I would also encourage you to oppose the fee increase. I understand that adjusting for inflation is standard, but this organization continues to increase expenditure and continues to increase, now it turns out we increased the deficit. So it's important that we spend student dollars effectively, and it seems that that is not necessarily what we do. And the best way to send a message that we should spend money effectively on the students, and that every dollar taken in is a dollar spent on services on the students, is to prevent this organization from raising fees and instead see where it can cut internally to increase the efficiency of itself.
Thank you. You were in line first.
So I'm not here to really state an opinion for either side. I'm here to ask VP Schwan a question. In particular, what service exactly will be affected if CPI does not go through? What cuts can we expect? What restrictions can we expect? So what changes can we expect if CPI does not go through?
Yeah, I think that that's a fair question, and I was going to clarify once everyone was done talking. Inflation happens in many businesses across the board, where prices will simply go up because they need to meet the cost of inflation around the environment where they are. So in Kitchener-Waterloo or in Toronto or wherever they are, prices go up, and that's inflation. And so things that could be affected are what we're purchasing as an organization, services that we're asking, that we're going out, that clubs are buying, that services are going out and seeking to support student initiatives. Across the board, inflation causes those things to increase. So the reason why we have it on every year is so that we can keep up and continue to afford those purchases to continue to support student services, student clubs, without not keeping up with inflation across the board of other price increases.
All right, so honestly, somebody opposing inflation is someone that is very reactionary towards fee increases and someone that doesn't understand the realities of the corporation. Inflation is a necessary fact of life, and people that understand finances should understand that inflation is a very real thing. As an organization, we're getting bigger because the student body is getting bigger. That's just simple logic. As you get bigger as a student body, you need more people to provide the same level of services. So unless as you students want service cuts, or you want a loss in the services we're able to provide you, go ahead and vote down CPI. I encourage you to, because you know what? This is the reality that we're faced with. It doesn't matter what corporation you're a member of. Inflation is a reality that you need to deal with. And just to let you know, about our own realities. Currently, right now, all Federation staff are University of Waterloo staff. We essentially contract them in to provide services to you guys. So we're not bound they're not bound to our own staff agreement. They're bound to the university staff agreement. And that staff agreement negotiated a 3% increase. I'm sorry, I don't have a voice at that table. I wish I did. Because if we had a voice at that table, we may be able to bring a little bit more of an interesting perspective. So this inflation, while it's at 1.4%, you need to recognize our staff costs are increasing by 3%. You need to understand the labor costs of the services we purchase and the goods that we purchase are increasing. So unless you want less quality food in Bomber, unless you want less offerings in iNews, inflation is something that you need to actually implement. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Baranovich?
Yeah. Mark Sabranovich, I just want to add a few things quickly. The idea that we cannot, that we're going to suffer extreme losses because of the fact that we would not see a CPI increase is nonsensical. We've increased the fee every single year by CPI, as well as other fee increases to top it off because we need more money. We just need more money. The idea that we cannot improve efficiency in feds is nonsensical. There's tons of areas to improve efficiency. And also, yeah, just like I said, as you can see here, we're going for a CPI increase. We're also going for another 35-cent increase. Last time there was another increase that we wanted to do that's, as well as CPI. The term before that we had another fee increases because we wanted more money. There's no reason that we can't improve our efficiency instead of improving the amount of money we get in order to provide the same level of services to students and actually work harder. The people that are on the budget committee and other people that are involved in feds in order to work harder, in order to make sure students get their bang for their buck, not just raising by CPI because we always do it.
Okay, if there's no one else wishing to debate or discuss the motion, we will put it to a vote. So I will ask all those in favor to raise their placards, and then we'll ask all those, not yet, hold on, I'm explaining how we vote. All those in favor to raise their placards, then all those opposed, and then all of those who are abstaining. After I do all three of those, if you would like your vote noted, please just come up to the front and speak your name into the mic and say, I would like my vote noted as abstaining, voting yes, voting no, whatever it may be. Everyone sound good? All right, all those, sorry, 1 second. All those in favor, please raise your placards. I'm going to assume that's a majority. Placards down. All those opposed? And those abstaining? Motion passes.
Sorry, you just said you said we should note our votes.
Anyone who would like their vote noted, please come up to the microphone and say your name into the mic.
Since I'm a current director, I'm going to protect myself legally and note my vote in favor.
As a current director, I will also have my vote noted in favor.
As the chair of the board, I will note my vote in favor.
As hopefully a future director, I'm going to vote my vote against.
As a current director, I vote in favor.
Anyone else wishing to have their vote noted? Thank you. Motion passes. We'll move on to agenda item number. Yeah. There is a motion to recess for 5 minutes for food. So that's moved by Member Ray, seconded by Member Tran. So is that a motion to recess until the call of the chair, perhaps? Okay, we'll do that, and we'll call us back to order once everyone has finished serving food. Can I just clarify, people at the food station, are you ready to serve food? Aaron? Are you ready? No? Hold on, everyone sit down. Okay, we're going to go row by row. Kumar in the middle here is going to point who's ready to go first, just so we're not swarming everyone at once. We are in recess right now. Kumar, send him up whenever you're ready.
start talking.
Testing 1, 2.
the issue of having. I believe that.
But yeah, no, I was happy when I saw it. But I feel like that was very
I'm hopeful that all of the people we're getting through will at least stay until they finish their feet. And so I'm going to try and roll through the rest quickly.
As soon as that line's done.
Yeah. Yep. We don't want to. Yeah, they want to pull up. Yeah. Which is, I am shocked that no one changed the order. I've literally never seen that happen. People are always trying to get their thing first. I mean, I don't think that we have less than 200 people in the greater Great Hall area.
just carrying those ballots and it's an incoming Ontario where they don't have candidates. Right. That guy, if Marcus doesn't get brought in, like, actually get it. And then the motion is started. I turned it down. Yeah, I know you did. But you were in the meeting.
Yeah. I probably should.
How are you? I have a question about the election deposits during this, the ranking system.
Yeah.
Are the ballots actually ranked or are they just by position that you vote?
I'd have to double check with the superintendent. I'm not sure offhand.
Okay.
Yeah. I know Sasha was giving me direction because he knows the rules better than anyone.
Okay. Because I thought you said that they were ranked.
Yeah.
Before we ended up ballots in, and since you said that, I'm surprised that they're doing it by hand.
Sasha is, anyone would say, is the better.
Why should I ask Sasha?
Double check with him once he starts eating. Come on, people, let's move it along here. Whatever. Cannon, look it up. I'm gonna make it quick spot.
So you can say send it to marketing@feds.ca, but make sure that you send it from a UWaterloo email, otherwise it will go directly to Jeff. It's just how the system that we have talks with UWaterloo emails to put them in priority sequence. Yeah, you could even just send like an email to their up and be like, hey, I'm looking to get on these electronic TV boards. This is like the scope of what I'm looking to do. Can you help me out? And then they'll get you an estimate. Okay. Yeah.
This would be huge. This is like everyone claiming
Yeah, no, it's a good observation.
In fact, we were very close last year. Private member bill on the docket that would have implemented a student union tax in Ontario, and then kept moving from the legislature and got dealt with.
We should vote it because of that, or should we vote it?
No, should grow different different reasons. No one in Queen's Park cares about city politics.
That's okay. All right, thank you.
The frustration.
All right, we'll call this meeting back to order. So we are now on item number 8, approval of the orientation fee increase by CPI. So this motion reads as follows. Be it resolved, the general meeting approve the orientation fee increase by CPI of 1.4%, corresponding to $1.48. Do I have a mover? Moved by Member Ray, seconded by Member Garrett. Member Ray, if you would like to speak to this, you may.
Ditto my previous points. CPI is important. This is for the orientation fee. We manage orientation. Increasing by CPI allows us to maintain the same service levels for our first-year students that are incoming this September. So, yeah.
Any debate or discussion? Seeing none, we'll put it to a vote. Again, this works the same as before. All those in favor, please raise your placards. And those opposed? And abstentions? Motion passes. As usual, if you would like your vote noted, please come up to the front. All right, I don't see any. And now we'll move on to item number 9, approval of the Fed's fee by 35 cents. So the motion is, be it resolved, the general meeting approve the Fed's fee increase by 35 cents. Do I have a mover? Moved by Vice President Priori, seconded by Member Potter. Vice President Priori, you are the first one to speak.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So I just want to speak to what the fee increase will go toward. So there's two parts to it. 25 cents of this fee increase will go to coordinator honorarium increase. So right now, service coordinators get $350 per term of being a service coordinator. They work roughly 12 to 20 hours a week. And services are a key area that improves campus life and provides a service to students that the university does not provide. So if you average it out, about 15 hours a week for 12 weeks in the term, they're working about $1 an hour, just under or just over. And so to truly show them appreciation and give them a fair amount for how much they are actually working, I'm recommending that they get $500 honorarium per term. I also have information that compares these roles to other roles within the university and within the organization that are part-time, and to show the difference between the two. I don't know how much I should get into it right now, but I'm going to do like a quick overview. So for example, the VP Education portfolio has 2 commissioners that are paid part-time, who work 10 to 20 hours a week and about $12 an hour. And according to the Vice President of Education, the roles are similar to the experience of a service coordinator and have a similar impact on campus. Roles in the Student Success Office are peer success coaches, make $13.50 an hour. Peer mentorship trainers, $12.50 an hour. Orientation leader trainers, $12.50 an hour, and there's a bunch more. And so these positions also help improve student life, but not to the extent and work that the service coordinators do put into the Fed services. And then I'm going to speak to also the other part of the fee increase. Oh, sorry. Coordinator honorariums are going to be 20 cents of this, and a part-time staff member within the campus life department is 15 cents. And I'm just going to speak to this very clearly. People have been complaining about clubs today and the service that they've been receiving as club members. I think someone mentioned that there are over 200 clubs within Feds. That's true, between 200 and 300 depending on how busy the term is. And there's 1 full-time clubs manager. So of course the work is very overwhelming for them to approve every event and make sure that Feds clubs are following guidelines, because we are taking on your liability. So anything that happens at your event, if something bad happens, it's on Feds. And so that's why we have event forms, and that's why we need to process them properly. And this part-time person will help alleviate some of that stress onto from the club's manager and take on those lower risk events to make sure that things are moving along quickly and people have a point of contact to go to that will help speed up the process of check requests, of event forms, room bookings, all that stuff. And I have more information on how it ties into a long-range plan or anything like that, so feel free to ask questions.
Thank you. If anyone else would like to speak, you can come up to the microphone. I think you just have to turn it on. As usual, if you can say your name before you start talking so our notes can be correct.
Hello, my name's Alexander Eyre. I came up here earlier to discuss one of the questions I had about clubs as an active member in many clubs in the school community. This solution right here of increasing funding is the wrong answer to the right problem. Yes, there is problems with bureaucracy and clubs, but the answer to that isn't to increase the bureaucracy and increase the amount of paperwork that clubs are going to have to do. The answer to our problem here is to give powers back to the clubs, decrease paperwork, and decrease the amount of regulation from the club's manager. The club's manager has been doing his best, but as a whole, the program is very ineffective with dealing with clubs. So that's why I believe adding another assistant won't help clubs. It may alleviate some wait times, but at the end of the day, clubs are still going to have a really hard time, and clubs are still going to be leaving feds. And that's why I suggest that everyone votes against this and instead asks their executives of feds to implement new policies restructuring how feds deals with clubs. Thank you.
Thank you. You can go next.
Hey everyone, I'm Chris Salahub. I'm one of the coordinators actually for OCC this term, and I'd just like to speak for a second on more specific terms than people against this have talked about it. As coordinators, we work very hard every single term to try and bring services that students across campus use on a daily basis. Things like GLOW, OCC, the Bike Center, names I'm sure you've heard and used throughout your time here. However, for all of this time we spend, we get compensated very little. And consequently, plenty of the services have a very hard time between terms finding new coordinators. The Bike Center oftentimes is not able to find anyone to lead the group into the future. The Volunteer Center has had many problems in the past finding new coordinators. If we increase the compensation people get for the hard work they put in, as Deanna said, an estimated, 10 to 12 hours every week, then it's much easier to get high quality people to help run these services and improve the services people see on campus. I think the bottom line is that the people who talk about going against these fee increases talk about efficiency and bureaucracy in very vague terms. But I can tell you as a coordinator that it's a very real thing, that if you want people to be coming in and working for your service, you need to compensate them. And if you want to have good services on campus, you need to show the people that are working that you actually appreciate them being there. So I'd say vote in favor of this fee increase.
Thank you.
While I tend to agree with everything
Sorry,
that was...
can you just speak your name into the mic?
Sorry, Seneca Velling again. While I tend to agree with everything that was said, and I have no objections to raising the fee to pay for coordinators, it doesn't solve the problem that fees in the Federation of Students can be split along the lines decided between the three powers, the council, the board, and the executive. So this money could go, in fact, to increase the pay of coordinators, but there's not a guarantee. So I would like to submit an unfriendly amendment to this resolution that all the fee raised for this particular instance, the money is dedicated and required to go to those coordinators and cannot be spent on anything else. I think it's really important, if everyone here is committed to cutting down on bureaucracy just as much as they are committed to paying people a fair amount of honorarium for the amount of work they put in, that those people actually receive that money. So if we care about those people truly, then I hope you support an unfriendly amendment to force any raised fees for this for coordinators to go to coordinators and cannot be spent on anything else.
Can I just get you to come over here and so we can type out, I want the exact wording of the motion that you would like to move. So what are we looking for here? Just like... Can you help with this? So moved by member Velling, seconded by member Garretts. Just bear with us for a few minutes while we get the exact wording of the motion up on the screen. In the meantime, if you would like some seconds, I believe some food is still available. Just go up there and help yourself. I'm just going to hold off before we start the debate until we get the exact motion, exact wording of the motion on the screen.
This one.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There's technically no such thing as a friendly amendment. No, we just kind of like ignore it, but.
I don't know. That's over here.
Can you just delete the word rationale? Yeah, either of you, just so that you see it as a separate motion. All right, so we have the text of the motion. So the motion, subsidiary motion reads, this must go towards increased service coordinator honoraria and a part-time student staff to assist with club's administrative tasks in the distribution determined by Vice President Internal and cannot be spent elsewhere within the Fed's budget. So we have a mover and a seconder. Is there any debate on this amendment? So we're not talking about the fee increase specifically. We're talking about this subsidiary motion relating to it. I don't see. Oh, okay. We have someone coming up to the mic.
I appreciate the member's sentiment around this. Unfortunately, I can't support this because really it's an unfeasible way of implementing a budgetary practice. To sort of describe this to you quickly, essentially we have what's called our general fund and then the restricted funds, which are actually collected separately on your fee statements. So the Federation of Students fee pays for the general fund, which is the operating revenue that we use to spend on the services that we provide to you. And then we have our restricted funds that we manage, like the insurance, the UPass, and there's one other one. So with this, what you're doing is you're essentially limiting us on the general fund allocation process to something that's a very complex calculation to figure out every single cent off of each student's remittance of where that should be going to the service coordinator's honoraria. Board has committed already that the service coordinator honoraria will go up. That's a binding decision to the budget committee. So really this isn't, like it doesn't do much, but I do appreciate the sentiment. It's just, it restricts us in a way that I don't think is good financial practice. So that's about it.
Hey, anyone else who would like to speak to this subsidiary motion, please come to the mic. Member Forstner.
For the Assembly's benefit, I just want to quickly clarify what the effect of this amendment is. So the general meeting has the authority to provide general direction to the board on the transaction of business related to the affairs of the corporation. This amendment is similar to that. General fund, the difference between general fund and restricted funds aside, this amendment passing, and personally, I'm actually pretty supportive of it. This amendment passing doesn't impose a unavoidable restriction on the corporation. So if our backs were up against the wall and we absolutely had to cut costs and someone said, let's cut service coordinator honoraria, the board is not prohibited from doing that in the future if they feel it's in the best interest of the corporation. But this amendment being in the motion does impose an obligation on the board to the best of their abilities, make sure that this happens. So I think it clarifies the intent a lot more clearly. I would personally be happy to support this amendment, but of course I'll leave that up to all of you.
All right.
So I'm just going to have to disagree with the speaker before, not the immediate speaker before. Two ago, I don't know your name, I'm sorry. Adrian? AJ. All right, so I'm going to disagree with AJ on a couple grounds. So I am not from this country. I'm from the United States, and I know that may come as a shock to you. I don't seem like an American. I'm not wearing a Make America Great Again hat or anything, but I will tell you this much. The distribution of funds does matter. And in my state, New Jersey, taxes were collected, and they were spent on things that they were not intended for. And this led to all sorts of unavoidable consequences that come with fiscal irresponsibility. And yes, people do come up here and talk about bureaucracy and talk about bloated budgets, and those are issues, and yeah, they are vague. But this is a simple way to kind of cut back on that a little bit, and at least in principle, say, or constrain the board a little bit in the obligation that they have to serve the true commitment and intent of this motion, right? You want people to be paid for their work properly, then collect taxes and spend those taxes on those people as is decided. In my state, we made the highway tax funded, directly spent on the highways. You can't spend highway collected taxes on anything else. And for that reason, our highways are some of the best in the country now. Our infrastructure is no longer decaying. Feds can do the same thing here. And they have the opportunity to do, and it is not an unrealistic obligation to ask them that in the spirit of this amendment, funds get spent properly as they're intended.
Any other member wishing to speak? Member Potter? No. All right. Seeing no more discussion on this amendment, we will go to a vote. All those in favor of this amendment that would restrict the fee increase, raise your placard. And those opposed? And abstentions? All right, I'll take that as approved. So now we are voting on this motion with this amendment. So anyone wishing to speak? Sorry, yes? Would you like to do a quorum check? I just want to clarify that if you do a quorum check, we're going to spend the next hour asking all those people in line to sign in. Because technically they're in the room and they're part of the meeting. So if you would like to delay this and spend another hour as we sign all those people in, we'll do that. Okay. All right, thank you. Now you may speak to this motion.
My name is Joo-hyun Kim, and I would like to say that as someone who has volunteered a lot, the service, I've seen coordinators and they do a lot, and it's a very taxing job, and I think definitely the honor area should be given to them. It's, yeah, sorry.
You just want to say your name, yeah?
Saad Ahmad. Hi, I'm the operations coordinator of the campus response team. I would like to say that in total, we put in about 500 plus to 600 hours per term to be coordinators. That covers our office hours that we hold every single day. That covers the OC meetings that we have. That covers all the little other things that we have as well. And Tatiana will speak more on that.
Hi, I'm Tatiana Portelli. I'm the administrative coordinator for the campus response team, and this is my second term doing this position. I just want to add that as coordinator, there are many times where I have to be on call, ready to answer any sensitive questions or need to be there to talk to members of my service. And I'm sure other services are the same, probably such as GLOW, Women's Center, OCC. And it can be very difficult balancing, approximate the number of hours that we put into our service. And it is around 500 hours. So even with this honorarium, it's about $1 an hour that we're getting compensated. So it'd be a great reason to vote for this lovely fee increase.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm David Cox, and I'm the treasurer for the Acapella Club. This is my 8th term in the executive there, and I'm here to specifically talk to the club's assistant role. I'm very much in favor of this because knowing the current club's manager, Jake, he's been very busy this term. Like, he's up till like 9 p.m. approving forms so that clubs can do what they need to do. Like, he's spending so much more of his time than he ever possibly should, and he's go every single day. So when I heard that there was even the chance of him getting an assistant, I jumped on it. That's why I'm here today. So I'm very much in support of the new club's assistant.
Thank you. Yep.
Hi, my name is Malika. I would just like to call the question.
Call the question. All right. So the way this works, it's a motion to end debate and vote right away. So what I'm going to ask, so all those in favor of this motion to call the question will raise their placards, and then all those opposed, and they'll raise their placards and abstentions. If we get 2/3 of the people voting to call the question, that just means we end debate, and then we will proceed to vote on the motion itself. So voting right now doesn't mean you are for or against the motion itself. It means you would like to stop debating the motion and vote immediately afterwards. Does everyone understand? All right. So all those in favor of calling the question, please raise your placards. And those opposed? And abstentions? All right, we'll take that as passed. So we will now move on to the motion itself. So the motion is to increase the Fed's fee, and then we have the sub-amendment as well that this must go towards increased service coordinator honoraria and a part-time student staff to assist with the club's administrative tasks in the distribution determined by Vice President Internal and cannot be spent elsewhere in the Fed's budget.
Point of order?
Point of order, yes.
Do sitting coordinators have to recuse themselves?
Sitting coordinators? No, because this wouldn't take effect this term, so they don't, sorry, you don't get the increased honoraria this term. So all those in favor of this motion, please raise your placards. And those opposed? And those abstaining? Thank you. Motion passed. Anyone wishing to have their vote noted, please come up to the microphone, state your name.
As a director, noting my abstention on this motion.
Likewise, as a director, noting my abstention.
As chair, I'm noting my vote in favor.
As director, I'm voting in favor.
Yeah, sure.
Tatiana Portelli, just want to note I abstained.
All right. Anyone else wishing to have their vote recorded? Nope. All right. Brian Schwan got you there. All right. We'll now move to item number 10, bylaw review presentation. This is just an overview by the chair of the board on item number 11, which is a motion to ratify the new bylaws. So, Chair AJ.
Hi guys. So we actually in the fall had brought this forward. There haven't been really any substantive changes except for one which I'll describe. So essentially there's 4 changes to the bylaws. Language. We removed all gendered language in the bylaws. We also clarified words in it. That relates to item number 2, which is clarity in the bylaws. Making sure the structure made sense, making sure it was somewhat easier to read than the sort of wall of text that you used to have. Number 3, we've now given society presidents a vote on student council. They used to sit as non-voting members. We've now given them a vote on council, so that increases council's voting share, or increases the number of voting members on council, but also encourages society ownership of the organization. And finally, number 4, this is accountability and transparency. We've introduced an amending portion of the bylaws, so there's now very specific conditions on how the bylaws can be amended. Currently, right now, the board can pretty much just amend the bylaws, and those changes go into effect unless the general meeting votes them down. So now there's a very clear process around that, which is much more accountable long term. So that's about it. If you have any questions at all, I'd be happy to answer them right now.
All right, so we'll now move to item number 11, which is the motion itself to ratify the bylaw amendments. So be it resolved, the current Federation of Students bylaws be revoked and replaced with the Board of Directors amended bylaws as presented. This was circulated in the minutes. Moved by Member Ray, seconded by Member Forstner. Debate and discussion, you heard a little bit of an overview there. If you would like to debate or discuss, please come up to the microphone. Member Forstner, of course.
Right, I could stand up here and talk about all the things I think are good about these changes. Full disclosure, as a board member, I actually initiated this rewrite project. I was on the cleanup committee, so I want to actually give a thank you to our chair, AJ Ray, my fellow director, Tristan Potter, Students' Council Representative, Razan Kaoud, and our president, Chris Lolis, as well as then Research and Policy Officer, now Stakeholder Relations Manager, Aaron Francis, who was a resource to the team that did the rewrite. All those people gave up their summer to actually work on this, and I think the changes are quite effective for that reason. So please, let's just give them a quick round of applause. The other thing I want to do is move a very quick amendment. I'll move it as one just to save time, but it's an amendment in 2 places. If we could call the bylaws document up on the screen. And I'll give this text to the person handling the projector. So the amendment's very simple. In Article 5, Section 3, that's the article on general meetings. the section on member proposals. In Clause 3, I want to insert the phrase, "that does not violate any bylaw of the corporation," immediately after the word proposal. So let's scroll down to Article 5 so that people see the context for what I'm saying. You're going to have to go ways than that. It's like, that's Article 4. "That does not violate any bylaw of the corporation," immediately after the word proposal. So let's scroll down to Article 5 so that people see the context for what I'm saying. You're going to have to go ways than that. It's like, that's Article 4, and yeah, here we are. That's Section 3 at the top. So, Clause 3 there. I want to insert the word "that does not violate any bylaw of the corporation" immediately after the word proposal. This is just a simple technical change. Under provincial law, any member proposal submitted for a general meeting has to be in line with the bylaws. This doesn't make it clear quite yet. Our clarification will make that clear to avoid future anger and disappointment if someone tries to submit something like a motion to expel the executive, which actually you can't do because we have a different process for removing executives. The other amendment is to Article 9, Section 2, which is the article on officers, the section on executives. If we could scroll down to that. And I want to change the word fund to funding, and I want to insert one more. There we are. Section 2. Section 2. Yeah, I said Section 2. In Clause 3, I want to change the word fund to funding. That was just a typo. And I want to insert the phrase, comma, "with the exception of external political organizations in which the corporation holds membership," immediately after the word corporation. Context for that, this part of the bylaws in the old version was actually meant, and it was much clearer in the old one that it was meant to specify that our execs can't also be club execs and society execs while being feds execs. But now this new version could be reinterpreted a little differently. When you are an exec of another corporation, there are already conflict of interest laws that come into play that we have to deal with anyway. So this is just a redundancy in our bylaws. The only worthwhile exception, and I just wanted to avoid unintended consequences to this section, is that we do have membership right now just in one external political organization that lobbies the government on behalf of students. It has executive positions, and I just want to make sure that there isn't a risk that the board might interpret this clause as meaning that our VP Education can't serve as an exec of that organization, because that happens to be something that strengthens student voices and puts it front and center. So that's my amendment. I'm happy to entertain any questions.
So moved by Member Forstner, seconded by Member Potter. Any debate or discussion on this amendment? Seeing none, if there is unanimous consent, does anyone oppose these amendments? No, I will take them as approved by unanimous consent. So we are now back to the main motion, which is approval of the bylaws as amended by Member Forstner. Member Vranovich, you have the floor.
Sure. I just want to speak quickly. These new bylaws, I think a lot of them are some fantastic changes, but there's some changes in them to council and to board that have been sort of, shall I say, very quickly passed through, and I think that they're incredibly detrimental because council is something that is supposed to hold board accountable, and these new bylaws really strip council of a lot of their responsibility and shove them right onto board, and this is very dangerous because simply bringing a lot of people to a general meeting could elect yourself a board of directors, and they could do stuff that's very detrimental to the corporation. So I think this is something of great concern, and I'd urge people to I know there's a lot of great stuff in these bylaw changes, such as removing of gendered pronouns, and a lot of great changes in terms of funding structures, and I think those are very important. But I think there are some changes to the structure of feds that are very, very dangerous and really open up to corruption. And I would urge people to vote down these bylaws in hopes that we get them to the next GM where we can approve them without some of these changes, or we can really outline these changes and then improve them there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Have you already spoken on this motion?
No.
No, okay. You may go.
I'm sorry, Marcus, don't go away. Marcus. Could I just ask exactly where in the bylaws you're speaking about? Because I'm a little confused, and I want to clarify this if you do have a concern.
In front of me, but it has to do with restructuring of powers of board director and council.
Okay. We can't hear you. So can you please speak into the microphone?
It has to do with the restructuring of board of directors and council.
Okay. So actually, I'll walk you guys through those sections that I think Marcus is talking about. Sarah, could you go to Article 7, which is Board of Directors, I believe? Article 8. Okay, yeah. You know what? We'll walk through Students' Council first. Article 8. Sorry. Just go up, up. Yeah. Okay, so the purpose statement there. That is pretty much what council does. It wasn't in the old bylaws. We're now clarifying what they do because nobody actually really knew. So we actually gave them what I would call more legitimacy and power within the organization. Can we scroll down to Section 7 in this, which is powers? Or Section 6, sorry. That is, so this is Board of Directors. So the Board of Directors, that first section there is the purpose. That is straight up what they do. And that used to be in the old bylaws, kind of scattered throughout the sections. My colleague, I struggle with what he's saying because the changes we have made were actually implementing more transparency into the organization, i.e. introducing society voting power so that those society presidents could actually participate in council and have ownership over the corporation. We've also, in the amending formula, given people the power to we've actually removed the Board of Directors' power to amend the Student Council section of the bylaws without their consent. So Students' Council needs to approve any changes to their section of the bylaws. Board can't just make that change. So that's actually increasing accountability when it comes to this. So I'm confused as to what the member is saying, and really, if anyone has any other questions about this, I will be happy to address them with you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Member Velling, yeah.
So I have no objections as it stands to the changes. That being said, I will not vote in support of changes because I would encourage you not to as well. Not to vote against them, but to abstain.
Ilya, is that a point of personal privilege?
No.
Can you speak up? He's just asking you to speak up.
Sorry. Yeah, so I will be abstaining from this vote, and I encourage you to do the same, mostly because if you do not know what all of these things are, you should not be voting on them. Right? If you do not know who your candidates are in an election, you should not be voting in that election. Your vote is just as meaningless as anyone else's. And your vote has value, and since right now 45 people are deciding the fate of 20,000 undergraduate students, I think it's a little bit weighted towards the people that are here. And so if the people that are here support this position, then obviously it's going to get passed and it's going to either reward or condemn the remaining undergraduate students. What I would motion for, and except I have been told that it is out of order at a general meeting, would be to motion to put this to an online vote, where every student, those on co-op and those here, can participate in it. And then if they choose not to participate, then they have that right. But they are at least have the opportunity to participate. They are not limited by the inability to be at a general meeting. I was not here for the beginning, otherwise I would have ran for board myself. So I know that the other students that this will affect, and I think that they should be given the opportunity to say yes or no to it, not have 30 people in this room determine their fate.
Thank you. Member Potter?
Hello, I'm Tristan Potter. I just wanted to say quickly that the terms of reference of the committee that made the majority of these changes explicitly required it not to make structural changes. So any structural changes were outlined at the beginning of this meeting, namely the president's change. And with that, I would like to call the question.
I'd like to do a quorum check before.
Okay. Are you familiar with what I said before? We will.
Very familiar.
Okay. We are going to do a quorum check. If everyone could please raise their placards. Sorry? What? I'm doing a quorum check. Yeah, if you can count. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 34, 35, 36, Okay. All right, you can put your placards down. We don't have quorum, so what we're going to do, you're free to leave. The meeting can't officially pass business, but we're not adjourned, so we're going to now go count people in line. We're just shy of quorum, so if you would like to leave, or you can stick around while we count some people, it's up to you. Sorry. We didn't have a matching number, but it's just shy of 150. So I can go count 50 people in line and get them signed in if you'd like. If you would like to leave, you can also leave. Sorry, yes? Motion. We're not doing a vote right now, so you can't do a motion to do a roll call vote. Well, we're not doing a vote right now, so you'd have to do it at the time of the vote. Member Garrett. Okay. So yeah, we're going to start counting people in lineup. You're free to leave, but if you leave, just know that we're about to, we could restart at any minute. We're not going to get to market. Yeah.
So what does this mean?
The meeting's going to adjourn, probably.
But what about the bylaws?
They're just going to wait until October.
But what about the fact that the RPO will report to you now?
We'll get board to redo it. Like in the April meeting of board, they'll re-shift that. I'll do that when we give up on quorum. Don't worry about signing people in. Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, do you want to just announce?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, everyone, it's clear we're not going to get quorum. So the meeting hasn't adjourned, but we can still discuss anything on the agenda if we want to, but no business can be transacted. If anyone has any business that they would like to raise, but again, as I said, no motions can be made, anything like that.
So not a motion, but I would like it brought up mentioned in the minutes, and I would like it brought up at either the board or the council for discussion. But I think that any raises in this year, any raises in CPI and the coordinator fees and any other additional or auxiliary fee raises should be offset by decreasing the pay of our executives. Sorry guys, I know you do a lot, and I know you're here in the spring term and work 12 months out of the year, but I think that as the highest paid executives in certainly the province of Ontario, but also the entirety of Canada, I think we should take a hit to executive pay to help pay for our coordinators and things like that. So we should offset spending where we can by executive salary.
Thank you for your speech. Again, no business can be transacted. Seeing none, everyone can go home if they'd like. Election results. I do have the results of the board election. So this went in stages as people were eliminated in the ranked ballot. So in the first round, with 4 votes, Brian, I'm sorry, I don't have anyone's last name. Brian was eliminated. In the second round with 7 votes, Katie was eliminated. In the third round with 15 votes, Brittany was eliminated. And then in the fourth and final round, Marcus was eliminated. So elected to the board are AJ, Vishnavi, Matthew, Z, and Abdullah. So those are the results of the board elections. Thank you, everyone. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn if everyone would like to adjourn. I don't know, do we need a motion to adjourn? All right, meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming out, everyone. We'd really appreciate it for those of you who are around to help us stack the chairs and help us clean up the room. We really would appreciate that. It's been a long day for many of us.